I woke up in the ICU at 2 in the morning, 35 weeks pregnant with twins, oxygen mask on my face, critical. Then I saw the hand, manicured nails, red polish, pulling the tube from the wall. My husband's assistant, the woman who called him at all hours, she was disconnecting my oxygen, killing me, killing my babies. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. My lungs burned. The monitor dropped. 94, 91, 88. Then my husband walked in. I thought he'd save me. I was wrong. He stood there, watched me suffocate, put his hand over the nurse call button, blocked it, made sure I couldn't get help. That's when I understood. He wanted me dead. What I didn't know yet? He'd signed papers the day before. Do not resuscitate, and taken out a $24 million life insurance policy. If I died during childbirth, he'd collect double. This is the story of how I survived, how I fought back, and how I won. Claire's fingers clawed at the oxygen mask. Empty. No air coming through. Her chest burned. Her vision blurred at the edges. Through the haze, she saw the hand. Manicured nails, red polish, too red, the color of blood. The hand pulled. The tube disconnected from the wall outlet. Claire tried to scream. Nothing came out. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again, like a fish drowning in air. The woman stood over her bed. Brooke, Richard's assistant, the one who called at all hours, the one who laughed at his jokes in that high, tinkling way. Brooke's face was calm, too calm. She watched Claire struggle like someone observing a science experiment. The pulse oximeter beeped faster. Claire's eyes found the numbers on the screen. 94, 91, 88. Her babies, the twins, 35 weeks along. They needed oxygen too. Claire's hand moved across the hospital blanket, so slowly, everything felt like moving through water. Her fingers found the nurse call button. She pressed it again, pressed it harder. Brooke stepped back, just one step. Her expression changed. The mask of calm slipped. She looked toward the door. Just a few more minutes, Brooke whispered. Her voice was soft, almost kind. The babies won't make it past 32 weeks anyway. The words hung in the antiseptic air. Claire's mind tried to process them, tried and failed. This couldn't be real. The medication, she was on so much medication for the preeclampsia. Maybe she was hallucinating. But her lungs knew the truth. They screamed for air, real, physical air. The door opened. Richard entered. Her husband, father of her children. He carried coffee in one hand, his phone in the other. Richard. Claire's voice came out as a gasp. She. The oxygen. She. He looked at Brooke, then at the disconnected tube, then at Claire. Claire, you're confused. His tone was gentle, patient, the way you'd speak to a child. The medication, you're imagining things. He walked to her bedside, put down the coffee. His hand moved over hers, over her fingers, the fingers pressing the nurse call button. His hand covered the button completely. Claire stared at him, into his eyes, those blue eyes she'd looked into on their wedding day. The eyes that had looked at her belly with such joy when she told him about the twins. Those eyes were calculating now, cold, waiting. She understood. The realization cut through the oxygen deprivation. Sharper than any lack of air, he was going to let her die. He was actually going to let her die. Footsteps in the hallway, running footsteps. The nurse call light must have triggered before Richard covered it. Nurse Jennifer burst through the door, young, efficient. She took in the scene in one sweeping glance. Claire gasping, the oxygen tube dangling, the pulse oximeter alarm shrieking now. What happened? Jennifer rushed to the oxygen outlet, connected the tube, adjusted the flow. I found it like this, Richard said. His voice was perfectly steady. The tubes are always coming loose. I was about to reconnect it. They don't just come loose. Jennifer checked Claire's oxygen saturation. Mrs. Thornton, can you hear me? Are you okay? Claire tried to speak. Her lungs gulped air greedily. The oxygen tasted like plastic and salvation. She's confused, Richard said. The magnesium sulfate, the blood pressure medication, she's been having episodes. Jennifer looked at him, then at Brooke, who stood frozen near the window. I'll need to document this. Jennifer typed notes into her tablet. Mrs. Thornton had a desaturation event. Oxygen tube found disconnected. Patient alert but in respiratory distress. Of course, Richard said. Whatever you need to do. He squeezed Claire's shoulder. To Jennifer, it probably looked comforting. Claire felt the warning in it, the pressure of his fingers. Jennifer adjusted Claire's IV, checked her blood pressure. 170 over 110, dangerously high. I'm calling Dr. Mitchell, Jennifer said. This shouldn't be happening. She left the room, her footsteps quick and purposeful. Brooke moved toward the door. Richard caught her wrist. The gesture was brief. To anyone watching, it would look like nothing. But Claire saw the communication in it, the silent understanding between them. I should go, Brooke said. Her voice was different now, higher. Fake concern painted over the calm mask. I just came to drop off the quarterly reports Richard needed to review. I hope you feel better, Claire. She left. Her heels clicked down the hallway, each click like a countdown. Richard sat in the chair beside Claire's bed. He picked up his coffee, sipped it slowly. You scared me, he said, when Jennifer came running in. Claire couldn't speak yet. The oxygen was helping. Her saturation climbed back up. 92, 95, 97. But her mind was clearer than it had been in days. Crystal clear, terrifyingly clear. He was going to let me die. The thought repeated itself, a drumbeat, a truth she couldn't unknow. He was actually going to let me die, and my babies. The antiseptic smell of the hospital suddenly seemed stronger. The beep of monitors louder. The scratch of the hospital gown against her skin unbearable. Claire closed her eyes. She needed to think, to understand, to survive. But that was just the beginning of what she would discover. Morning light filtered through the hospital blinds, pale, clinical. Claire had been awake since 4, watching the door, watching Richard sleep in the uncomfortable chair, his head tilted back, his mouth slightly open. She tried to convince herself it was the medication. A fever dream brought on by preeclampsia. But she knew. In the cold morning light, she knew. Dr. Mitchell arrived at 7. She was 51, gray hair pulled back, kind eyes behind frameless glasses. 25 years of experience written in the confidence of her movements. Good morning, Mrs. Thornton. She reviewed the tablet. Nurse Garrett documented quite an incident last night. The oxygen tube came loose, Richard said. He was awake now, alert. Scared us both. Dr. Mitchell scrolled through the notes. Her eyes narrowed slightly. She tapped something on the screen, then tapped again. Mrs. Thornton, did you sign a do not resuscitate order? The question hung in the air. Claire's heart rate jumped. The monitor betrayed her. Beep, 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 beep. No. Claire's voice was hoarse. I never signed anything like that. Dr. Mitchell turned the tablet around, showed Claire the form, official hospital letterhead, legal language, and at the bottom, a signature. Richard James Thornton, medical proxy for Claire Elizabeth Thornton. The date on the form was yesterday, the day before the oxygen incident. Richard, Claire stared at the signature. You signed this? For your safety. He stood, moved to her bedside. The pregnancy is so high risk. If something happens during delivery, I didn't want you to suffer. I was trying to protect you. By telling them not to save me? By making sure you wouldn't be kept alive on machines if there was no hope. His hand covered hers again. I love you. I was thinking about what you'd want. But we never talked about this. Claire's mind raced. We never discussed DNR orders. Ever. Dr. Mitchell took back the tablet. I need to note that the patient was not consulted on this decision. Mrs. Thornton, do you want this order to remain in place? No. The word came out hard, final. I do not want that order. I want everything done to keep me and my babies alive. Noted. Dr. Mitchell typed quickly. I'm removing the DNR from your chart. Mr. Thornton, in the future, these decisions require patient consent unless the patient is incapacitated. Mrs. Thornton is alert and oriented. She makes her own medical decisions. Richard's jaw tightened, just slightly, just enough for Claire to see. Of course, he said. I misunderstood the protocol. I apologize. Dr. Mitchell left. Her sensible shoes squeaked on the linoleum floor. Claire stared at the darkened TV screen mounted on the wall. Her reflection looked back at her. Pale, swollen from the preeclampsia, hair unwashed, she looked like a ghost. He signed it before she came into my room. The realization settled over her like ice water. He planned this. The door opened again. Nurse Jennifer. She carried a blood pressure cuff and a knowing look. "Mr. Thornton, would you mind getting some breakfast?" Jennifer's tone was professional, firm. "I need to do a full assessment. It'll take about 30 minutes. I can stay. Hospital policy, privacy during examinations." Richard left, his shoulders tight, his movements controlled. Jennifer waited until his footsteps faded. Then she pulled a chair close to Claire's bed, spoke quietly. "I documented everything last night." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "The disconnected oxygen, the timeline, your visitor being in the room, your husband's presence, the exact timing of when the alarm triggered. Why are you telling me this?" "Because something felt wrong." Jennifer met Claire's eyes. "I've been an ICU nurse for 12 years. Oxygen tubes don't disconnect themselves. And I saw the look on that woman's face when I came in. That wasn't surprise. That was annoyance at being interrupted." Claire's throat tightened. "You believe me?" "I believe the documentation. And there's security footage. The hospital keeps recordings of all ICU hallways. Not inside the rooms, but the hallways, the elevators, the nurse stations." "Richard has been talking to hospital administration," Claire said, "offering donations, asking about documentation retention policies." Jennifer's expression hardened. "He can offer all the money he wants. Patient safety documentation is non-negotiable, and I've already sent my notes to risk management. They're required to investigate any potential safety incident." The blood pressure cuff squeezed Claire's arm. Tighter, tighter, released. 175 over 115, Jennifer said. "Still too high. We need to keep you calm. Keep your stress down." "But Mrs. Thornton?" "Yes?" "If you need help, ask for it. There are people who will listen." She left. The room felt larger somehow, emptier. Claire reached for her phone on the bedside table. Her hands shook. She dialed a number she knew by heart. "Claire?" Alicia Bradford's voice was alert despite the early hour. "What's wrong?" "I need you." Claire's voice broke. "I need you to come to the hospital. Now, please." "I'm on my way." Claire hung up. Alicia was her best friend, had been since college. A family law attorney now, sharp, fierce, someone who believed in fighting back. Claire closed her eyes, let herself remember, not the good memories, the ones she'd been ignoring. 6 months ago. Richard coming home at midnight. Blame it on the board meetings 4 months ago. Brooke's promotion from HR assistant to executive assistant. Richard said she was brilliant, organized, essential. 3 months ago, Richard suggesting Claire's pregnancy was high risk. Maybe too risky. Maybe they should have waited. His tone was concerned, but underneath it, something else. Regret? 2 months ago, Rick updating his life insurance, asking Claire to sign papers. Just standard stuff. Financial planning, being responsible. Last month, Rick joking about twins, how expensive they'd be. Private school times 2, college times 2, weddings times 2. He'd laughed when he said it, but the laugh was hollow last week. That moment at 3 in the morning. Claire had woken up, couldn't sleep. Pregnancy insomnia. She'd reached for her phone, typed "signs your husband is cheating" into Google, stared at the search results, then closed the browser without reading them. Told herself she was being paranoid, hormonal, crazy. I knew. The thought was acid in her mind. Somewhere I knew. I just didn't want to see it. Validation whisper, quiet as breath. "I'm not crazy. This happened. They tried to kill me." The door opened. Richard entered with coffee and a bagel, his good husband costume perfectly in place. "I got your favorite," he said. "Everything bagel with—" "Don't." Claire's voice was flat. "Just don't." "Claire, you're upset about the dinner. I understand. I made a mistake. I should have asked you first." "Get out." You're my wife. You're carrying my children. I'm not leaving. The door opened again. Alicia Bradford stormed in like a force of nature. She was 38 but looked younger. Dark blonde hair pulled into a severe ponytail, gray suit that meant business. She carried a leather briefcase that had survived a decade of courtroom battles. Richard, her voice could cut glass. Leave. Now. This is between me and my wife. Your wife called me, her attorney, which means this is now between all of us. You can leave voluntarily or I can call security. Your choice. Richard looked at Claire, then at Alicia. Something passed across his face. Calculation. Decision. I'll be back. He walked out, left his coffee on the bedside table. Alicia pulled the chair close, opened her briefcase, removed a yellow legal wand and a pen. Tell me everything. Claire did. The oxygen mask. Brooks whispered words. Richard's hand over the call button. The DNR signed without her knowledge. The nurse's documentation. The security footage. Alicia wrote in neat, precise handwriting. Asked questions, clarified details. When Claire finished, Alicia put down her pen. This is attempted murder, she said. At minimum, assault, reckless endangerment. I'll file for an emergency protective order and divorce papers today. Divorce, Claire said the word. It felt foreign, final. Unless you want to stay married to a man who tried to kill you. The door opened. Richard appeared with coffee and flowers. Yellow roses. Claire's favorite. Once. I thought you might want, we'll be filing for emergency protective order and divorce, Alicia said. As of today, you are not to come within 100 feet of my client unless I am present. Richard's mask slipped. Just for a second, the concerned husband disappeared. Something darker took its place. You're being dramatic. Claire's hormones are all over the place. She's not thinking clearly. The pregnancy stress. Leave now, or I call security and police simultaneously. Richard looked at Claire. She saw it in his eyes, the moment he stopped pretending. The moment he decided she was no longer worth the performance. He left, took his flowers with him. Alicia checked the door, made sure it was closed, sat back down. Claire, I need you to listen to me carefully. You're in danger, real danger. We're going to get you out of this, but you need to be smart. You need to be strategic. Can you do that? Claire looked at her hands, at her swollen belly, at the monitors tracking her baby's heartbeats. Two distinct rhythms, her children, innocent, dependent on her staying alive. Yes, she said, I can do that. But what she discovered next would shatter everything she thought she knew about her marriage. Alicia returned 3 hours later. She looked grim, the kind of expression that meant bad news was coming. She carried her laptop, closed the hospital room door, pulled the privacy curtain for extra measure. Claire, when did Richard take out that life insurance policy on you? 3 months ago. The memory was clear now. Richard had been so casual about it. Just smart financial planning with the twins coming, protecting the family. He said it was responsible, in case anything happened during childbirth. Alicia opened her laptop, turned it so Claire could see the screen. An insurance policy document, official, detailed, terrifying. It's for $12 million. The number didn't make sense. Claire stared at it. $12 million. Who needed $12 million of life insurance? But that's not the worst part. Alicia scrolled down. There's a double indemnity clause. If you die during childbirth or within 90 days of delivery, the payout doubles. $24 million. The room tilted. Claire gripped the bed rail. $24 million. Beneficiary? Claire already knew, but she needed to hear it. Richard James Thornton, sole beneficiary. When was it backdated? What? The policy date. When does it say the coverage started? Alicia checked. Her face went pale. 7 months ago, before the pregnancy complications started. Claire's mind raced. Insurance companies wouldn't issue a policy like that on someone already high risk. So Richard had to have started the process before. Planned ahead, covered his bases. Not just an affair, not just wanting to be free, he could profit from her death. I was an asset to liquidate. The words came out flat, empty. That's all I ever was. Alicia's expression was careful, professional, but Claire saw the fury underneath. The kind of rage only a best friend could feel on your behalf. My team has been digging since you called me this morning. Alicia pulled up more documents, spreadsheets, financial reports. Richard's company, Thortech Medical Software, it's in trouble. What kind of trouble? The bad kind. The board of directors is planning a vote of no confidence next month. They want him out as CEO. The company needs a capital infusion. At least $20 million, maybe more. But Richard is rich. He has assets. On paper, most of his wealth is tied up in Thortech stock. If he gets voted out, that stock becomes worthless. He'd lose everything, the house, the cars, the lifestyle. Alicia scrolled through more documents. And here's where it gets interesting. Brooke Davies. Her family owns Davies Capital Group, a venture capital firm specializing in tech company bailouts. The pieces fell into place, each one clicking with horrible precision. The affair started when? 6 months ago, right when the board issues began. My investigator found credit card statements, hotel rooms, jewelry purchases, expensive restaurants, all 6 months ago. Claire closed her eyes, saw it clearly now. Richard at a business dinner, meeting Brooke's family, wealthy, connected, willing to invest, but with conditions, strings attached. Brooke was the string, or maybe Brooke saw an opportunity. A desperate man with a pregnant wife, a man who needed money fast, a man who might be willing to do anything. Does he get the company if I die? You're listed as beneficiary on his estate documents. Everything goes to you if he dies. But if you die first, especially before the divorce is finalized, all marital assets become his, including my trust fund from my father, which is worth $3.2 million. Alicia typed notes. So let me add this up. $24 million in insurance, $3.2 in your trust, full control of Thortech, and Brooke's family money to save the company. All he had to do was get rid of me. The words hung in the sanitized air. Claire touched her belly, felt the twins moving. They were always active after lunch. Little swimmers, little fighters. Her hands had reorganized the nursery 3 times last month. Moving furniture, refolding tiny clothes, arranging stuffed animals. Richard had laughed, called it nesting, but Claire knew the truth now. Some part of her had been trying to control something, anything, because deep down, she'd felt it coming. The loss, the danger. The door opened. Claire jumped, but it was just a nurse with lunch, chicken broth, crackers, Jell-O, hospital food. The nurse checked vitals, smiled, left. We need to go to the police, Claire said. Already done. I called a detective I know. Marcus Webb. He's good, experienced. He's coming here this afternoon. Richard will fight this. He has money, lawyers, connections. So do you. Alicia leaned forward. Claire, listen to me. You are not some helpless victim. You ran a nonprofit that raised millions of dollars. You have degrees from Michigan and Northwestern. You're smart, capable, strong. Richard counted on you being too shocked to fight back. He was wrong. A knock on the door. Detective Marcus Webb entered. He was 47, African-American, calm presence, the kind of man who'd seen everything and wasn't easily shocked. Mrs. Thornton, Ms. Bradford. He showed his badge. Thank you for calling me. The hospital flagged the incident last night as a potential safety violation. I was already planning to investigate. He pulled out a notebook, asked Claire to walk him through the events. She told him everything. The oxygen mask, Brooke's whispered words, Richard's hand on the call button, the DNR signed without permission. Webb took notes, asked questions. His face remained neutral, professional, but his pen moved faster when Claire mentioned the life insurance policy. $24 million is a strong motive, he said. I'll need to review the hospital security footage, interview the nurse who responded, interview Ms. Davies and Mr. Thornton. This will take some time. How much time, sir? Claire asked. A few days, maybe a week. I need to build a solid case before I can recommend charges. And if Richard tries something else while you're investigating? Ms. Bradford mentioned filing for a protective order. I recommend you do that today. I'll also notify hospital security to monitor your room. No visitors without your explicit permission." He left, promised to return with updates. Alicia gathered her things. "I need to go file the emergency motions. Protective order, divorce papers, emergency custody provisions, medical proxy revocation, all of it. But first, I'm getting hospital security up here. You don't see anyone without me or a security guard present. Understood?" "Understood." Alicia paused at the door. "Claire, you're going to survive this. You and those babies, I promise you that." She left. The room felt too quiet, too empty. Claire's mother arrived 20 minutes later. Joanna Marshall, 58, retired high school teacher from Ohio. She still dressed like a teacher, practical shoes, cardigan, reading glasses on a chain. She took one look at Claire and burst into tears. "Mom," Claire held out her arms. "Don't cry. Please don't cry." Joanna sat on the bed, carefully, mindful of the wires and tubes. She pulled Claire into a hug that smelled like home, like safety, like childhood. "Alicia called me," Joanna said. "Told me what happened. I drove straight here. 4 hours, didn't sit up once. You didn't have to come. My baby is in danger, of course I came." Joanna pulled back, studied Claire's face. "How are you really?" "Terrified, angry, confused." "Good. Those are all appropriate feelings." Joanna reached for her purse, pulled out Claire's phone. "You left this at the house last week. I have photos on it. You sent them to me last month. Look." She opened the photo app, scrolled to a folder labeled Nursery. The finished nursery. Claire had painted the walls herself. Pale yellow, gender neutral, 2 cribs, white with matching bedding, a rocking chair in the corner, bookshelves already filled with children's books, a mobile with moons and stars. "I painted those walls," Claire whispered. "I picked those curtains. I built those shelves. I thought we were building a family." "You were." He was building an exit strategy. The dam broke. Claire sobbed. Great heaving blows that made the monitors alarm. Joanna held her, rocked her, made soft shushing sounds. "Loved him," Claire gasped between sobs. "I actually loved him." "I know, baby, I know." "How could I be so stupid?" "You weren't stupid. You were trusting. There's a difference, Betrayal." The rough hospital blanket scratched against Claire's skin. Her mother's perfume was familiar. Lavender and something floral. The scent of every childhood comfort. Outside the window, a bird sang, life continuing, indifferent to human suffering. The door opened. Joanna tensed, ready to fight. But it was just Nurse Jennifer with medication. "Blood pressure meds," Jennifer said, "and a mild sedative to help you rest." "I don't want to rest. I need to stay alert." "Your babies need you to rest. Your blood pressure is still dangerously high, 170 over 120. You're at risk for seizures. Please, Mrs. Thornton, take the medication." Claire swallowed the pills, chased them with water, already felt the exhaustion pulling at her. The emotional toll of the morning, the weight of betrayal. "Mom, can you stay?" "I'm not going anywhere." Joanna settled into the chair, pulled out her knitting. "You rest. I'll keep watch." Claire closed her eyes, let herself drift. But just before sleep took her, one thought crystallized. Clear and cold and absolutely certain. Validation whisper. "This isn't my fault. She hunts marriages. He was weak enough to be caught." But Claire's nightmare was just beginning. Claire woke to voices, low, angry. She kept her eyes closed, listened. "You can't keep me from my wife." Richard's voice, tight with controlled fury. "I can, and I will." That was Alicia. "We have a temporary protective order. You're not allowed within 100 feet of her without supervision." "This is insane. I'm her husband, the father of her children. You're the subject of a criminal investigation. You signed DNR papers without her consent. You were present during a suspicious medical incident. You have a massive financial motive to see her dead. So no, you don't get unfettered access." "I'll fight this." "Good. Fight it in court, not in a hospital room." Footsteps. The door closing. Hard. Claire opened her eyes. Alicia stood by the window, looking out at the parking lot. Her shoulders were tight, battle ready. "He's gone," Alicia said without turning around. Security escorted him out. "He's been banned from the ICU floor. He'll find a way back. Let him try. I've got cameras on order. We're turning this room into Fort Knox." Alicia turned, held up her laptop. "But first you need to see something. Detective Webb sent me the security footage." She pulled a chair close to Claire's bed, opened the laptop, queued up a video file. "This is from 2 nights ago, the night of the incident." The footage was black and white, grainy, timestamp in the corner, 1:47 in the morning. The camera showed the ICU hallway, elevator doors, nurse station. The hallway leading to patient rooms. At 1:47, the elevator doors opened. Brooke Davies stepped out. She wore jeans, a fitted jacket. Her hair was down. She looked around, left, right, behind her. The movement of someone who didn't want to be seen. She walked down the hallway, turned right, disappeared from view. Camera 2 picked her up. Approaching Claire's room, she paused at the door, looked back over her shoulder, then entered. 1:52. The alarm triggered at the nurse station. The panel lit up. Room 314. Claire's room, 1:53. Brooke exited the room. Quickly. Her face was tight, annoyed. 1:54. Richard appeared. Not from the elevator, from the stairwell at the opposite end of the hallway. He walked toward Claire's room, casual, unhurried, like he belonged there. "He was already in the building," Claire said. "He came up the stairs to avoid the elevator camera." Exactly, they coordinated this. 1:55. Richard entered Claire's room. 1:58. Nurse Jennifer ran down the hallway, entered the room. 2:01. Jennifer left the room, went to the nurse station, typed on the computer. Documentation. 2:03. Richard left the room. Brooke was gone by then. He took the elevator down. Normal, calm, like a concerned husband who'd been visiting his sick wife. Alicia paused the video. Camera 3 has a different angle. This one shows inside the room doorway when the door is open. She played the new footage. The angle was different. Showed the edge of Claire's bed, part of the window, the door frame. When Jennifer entered the room, the camera caught Richard's hand, clearly visible, pressed down on something near Claire's bed. The nurse call button. "He was blocking it," Claire said, "making sure I couldn't call for help." "Correct. And this footage has already been sent to Detective Webb, along with Nurse Jennifer's documentation. This isn't speculation anymore. This is evidence." What happens now? Webb is building a case. He's interviewing everyone. But Claire, I need to warn you, this is going on to get ugly. Richard has resources, lawyers, PR teams. He's already spinning this. Spinning it how? Alicia pulled up a news website on her laptop. An article from that morning. The headline made Claire's stomach turn. Tech CEO's wife hospitalized with pregnancy complications. Family requested privacy. The article was short, carefully worded. It mentioned Claire's high-risk pregnancy, Richard's concern for his wife and unborn children, their request for privacy during this difficult time. There was a photo, Richard at a charity gala last year, handsome, successful, philanthropic. He's controlling the narrative, Claire said, for now, but when charges are filed, that changes. The truth comes out. A knock on the door. Detective Webb entered. He looked tired, like he'd been working all night. He probably had been. "Mrs. Thornton, Bradford." He sat down, opened his notebook. "I've reviewed the security footage, interviewed Nurse Garrett, Nurse Miller, Dr. Mitchell, and I've received Brooke Davies' employment history from Ms. Bradford's investigator. And Brooke Davies has worked for 3 wealthy men in the past 8 years, 3 men who had wives. All 3 marriages ended. The first employer? He married Brooke 6 months after his wife died. Accidental fall downstairs. No charges filed. The second employer? Messy divorce. The wife accused Brooke of alienation of affection. Civil suit settled out of court. The third employer? Richard Thornton. She's a pattern predator, Alicia said. That's one way to describe it. Though proving pattern is difficult, each incident was different. Different circumstances. Different outcomes. But now you have video evidence of her in Claire's room when the oxygen was disconnected. I do, and I've scheduled an interview with Ms. Davies this afternoon, with her attorney present, of course. I've also scheduled an interview with Mr. Thornton tomorrow. What's he going to say? Claire asked. Probably that he had no knowledge of Miss Davies being at the hospital, that the DNR was signed out of concern for your welfare, that any suggestion of foul play is absurd. Can you arrest them? Not yet. I need to complete the investigation, interview all witnesses, review all evidence, build a case that will hold up in court. But Mrs. Thornton, I want you to know something. He leaned forward. His expression was serious, intent. I've been a detective for 22 years. I've worked hundreds of cases, and I've learned to trust my gut. Something is very wrong here. The timeline is too convenient. The financial motive is too strong. The coordination between Ms. Davies and Mr. Thornton is too precise. I believe you, and I'm going to prove what happened. How long will that take? Days, not weeks. I'm moving as fast as I can. He left, promised to call with updates. Joanna came in with soup from the cafeteria, real soup, not hospital broth. She'd charmed one of the kitchen staff into letting her use the staff break room microwave. Chicken noodle, Joanna said. My recipe. I keep ingredients in the car for emergencies. You keep soup ingredients in your car? I'm a mother. I'm always prepared. She set up the soup on the bedside table, added crackers, napkins, made everything nice. Now eat. Those babies need nutrients. Claire ate. The soup was good, familiar, comforting, but her mind was elsewhere. On Richard, on Brooke, on the life insurance policy, on the nursery she'd painted, on the future she'd imagined, the future that never existed. Just a story Richard told her while planning her death. The door opened. Not Richard this time. A woman Claire didn't recognize. Mid-40s, expensive suit, severe expression. I'm looking for Richard Thornton's wife. Who are you? Joanna stood, protective. And how did you get past security? I'm with Channel 7 News. We heard about the incident. We'd like to get Mrs. Thornton's side of the story. Get out. Alicia appeared behind the reporter. This is a hospital. You can't be here. Freedom of the press doesn't extend to harassing patients in ICU. Security. Two security guards appeared, escorted the reporter out. She shouted questions the entire way, asking about the oxygen incident, about Richard's affair, about the life insurance policy. How does she know about the insurance? Claire asked. Someone leaked it, Alicia said. Probably someone from Webb's investigation, or from the insurance company, or from one of a dozen places. The point is, this story is getting out. Fast. Claire's phone buzzed, text messages, dozens of them, from friends, former coworkers, people she hadn't spoken to in years, all asking the same questions. Are you okay? Is it true? What happened? Turn off your phone, Alicia said. Don't talk to anyone. Don't respond to anything. Let me handle the media. But if the story's already out, then we control how it's told. I'm scheduling a press conference for tomorrow. We get ahead of this. We tell the truth before Richard can bury it in lies. I can't do a press conference. I'm in the hospital. I'm supposed to be on bed rest. I'll do it, with Webb's permission. We present the facts, the security footage, the DNR, the life insurance, the pattern of Brooke's employment, all of it. Claire looked at her mother, at Alicia, at the monitors tracking her baby's heartbeats. Two little hearts, fighting to stay alive, depending on her to keep fighting too. Do it, Claire said. Tell them everything. Her phone buzzed again. This time not a text, a news alert. She opened it, saw the headline, felt her blood turn to ice. Wife of tech billionaire claims attempted murder. PR team responds. The article quoted Richard's spokesperson, expressing deep concern for Claire's mental health, noting the difficulties of high-risk pregnancy, suggesting that stress and medication might be affecting her judgment. They were painting her as unstable, paranoid, crazy, rich, successful man, hormonal, unstable wife, the oldest story in the book. He's already writing the story where I'm the villain, Claire said. Alicia read the article, her jaw set. Then we rewrite it, starting tomorrow. But first, Claire needed to know one more thing. Alicia, the babies, are they okay? The oxygen deprivation. Did it hurt them? Joanna took Claire's hand. Dr. Mitchell said they're showing signs of distress. Their heart rates are elevated. They're not moving as much as they should be. We need to deliver them now. Claire, you're only 35 weeks. They're viable, but high risk. Dr. Mitchell wants to wait. Give them more time to develop. What if we don't have more time? What if Richard tries again? The question hung in the air, unanswerable, terrifying. Claire touched her belly, felt the twins inside her babies, her responsibility, her whole world. How do I keep them safe when I can't even keep myself safe? Mirror moment. The way she touched her belly, counting movements, the silent communication between mother and children. Validation whisper. My babies deserve better than a murderer for a father. Joanna kissed Claire's forehead. You're already keeping them safe. You're fighting. You're exposing the truth. You're surviving. That's what mothers do. Outside the window, the sun was setting, orange and red, beautiful and indifferent. The day was ending. Tomorrow would bring more battles, more revelations, more pain. But Claire had been playing defense. That was about to change. Claire didn't sleep. How could she? Every sound in the hallway made her heart race. Every footstep could be Richard. Every shadow could be Brooke. At 4 in the morning, Dr. Mitchell came in. Her face was serious. She carried an ultrasound machine. I need to check the babies, she said. The night nurse reported decreased fetal movement. Claire lifted her gown. The gel was cold, always cold. The ultrasound wand pressed against her belly. The monitor showed two little beings, still so small, still so vulnerable. Dr. Mitchell measured, checked blood flow, listened to heartbeats. Her expression grew more concerned with each passing minute. The twins are in distress, she said finally. Baby A is showing signs of hypoxia, decreased oxygenation. Likely from the incident 2 nights ago. Baby B is okay for now, but declining. What does that mean? It means we need to deliver soon, possibly today. They're 35 weeks and 3 days. That's viable, good odds. But the longer they stay in a compromised environment, the higher the risk of permanent damage. Permanent damage. The words felt like stones. Brain damage, developmental delays, cerebral palsy. We won't know until after delivery, but Claire, waiting might make it worse. What about Richard? He still has medical proxy rights until the divorce is filed. I saw the protective order this morning, and Ms. Bradford filed emergency motions yesterday. As of 6 a.m. today, you have sole medical decision-making authority. This is your choice. Claire looked at her mother. Joanna was awake, alert. She'd been keeping watch all night from the uncomfortable hospital chair. What do you think, Mom? I think your babies are telling you they need to be born. Listen to them. Claire closed her eyes, felt for the connection. The invisible thread between mother and children. She felt them. Struggling, uncomfortable, running out of time. We deliver today, Claire said. Now, Dr. Mitchell nodded. I'll prep the OR. We'll do an emergency C-section. Full team, NICU on standby. You'll be under general anesthesia because of your blood pressure. When you wake up, you'll be a mother. She left to make arrangements. Alicia arrived within the hour. She'd been sleeping in the hospital waiting room. Clothes wrinkled, hair pulled into a messy bun, but her eyes were sharp, ready. I heard, she said. They're prepping you for surgery? Yes, and Alicia, I need you to do something. File the emergency motions right now before the surgery. Make them official. Make it so Richard can't make any decisions about me or the babies. Already done. I filed electronically at midnight. The judge signed off at 7 this morning. Richard no longer has any legal authority over your medical care or the twins' care. He's been barred from the ICU, from the delivery room, from the NICU, from anywhere near you. What if something happens during surgery? What if I don't? Stop. Alicia gripped Claire's hand, hard. You're going to survive this. You and those babies. Do you hear me? You're going to survive. Joanna suited up in surgical scrubs, blue paper gown, hairnet, mask. She looked ridiculous and beautiful at the same time. I'm coming with you, she said. Someone who loves you should be there when your children are born. They wheeled Claire down the hallway, past other patients, past nurses, past the life she'd known before. Everything felt surreal, distant, like watching a movie of someone else's life. The operating room was bright, too bright, all steel and lights and serious faces. Dr. Mitchell was there, the anesthesiologist, nurses, a pediatric team from the NICU, so many people to catch two tiny babies. Count backward from 10, the anesthesiologist said. The mask went over Claire's face. 10, 9, 8. Claire's mind raced. Internal monologue, fast and urgent. If I don't survive this surgery, Richard gets everything. The insurance, the company, the twins. I have to survive. Not for me, for them. Mirror moment. The cold of the surgical table. The way she counted those lights above her. The coping mechanism universal to everyone facing the terrifying unknown. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 7, 6, 5. The world went black. When consciousness returned, it came in pieces. Sound first, beeping, voices, her mother crying, happy crying, then sensation, pain, deep burning pain in her abdomen, the tug of stitches, the weight of blankets, then sight, the recovery room, dim lights, Joanna's face above her, tears streaming down her cheeks. They're here, Joanna whispered. Your babies are here. They're alive. They're beautiful. Are they okay? Baby A is a girl, 4 pounds, 3 ounces. She came out crying loudly. Dr. Mitchell said, that's a good sign, strong lungs. And baby B, a boy, 4 pounds even. He needed some respiratory support, but he's breathing on his own now. Both in NICU, but alive. Claire tried to sit up. Pain shot through her incision. She gasped, fell back. Don't move, Joanna said. You just had major surgery. Give yourself time. I need to see them. You will, once you're stable. The NICU is right down the hall. They're safe, I promise. A nurse came in, checked Claire's vitals, adjusted her IV, gave her more pain medication. The world went soft at the edges. There were complications, the nurse said. You lost a lot of blood. We had to give you 2 transfusions, but you're stable now. Where's Richard? Mr. Thornton tried to enter the surgical wing. Security stopped him. He's been escorted off hospital property. And Brooke? No sign of Ms. Davies. Alicia appeared in the doorway. She carried her tablet. Her expression was grim and satisfied at the same time. A lawyer's face when they were about to deliver news. Claire, you need to see this. She held up the tablet, showed Claire a social media post. Instagram. Posted 3 hours ago, during Claire's surgery. The photo showed Brooke and Richard at an expensive restaurant. Champagne glasses. Brooke was laughing. Richard had his arm around her. Intimate. Possessive. The caption read, when you know, comments were disabled. But the post had been screenshot, shared, gone viral. Someone had identified Brooke, connected her to Thor Tech, connected Richard to the hospital incident. Twitter was on fire. Hashtag Justice for Claire trending. People were calling Richard out, calling Brooke out. The court of public opinion had rendered its verdict. They posted this during your surgery, Alicia said, while you were fighting for your life, while your babies were being born. They were at a restaurant, celebrating. Claire stared at the photo, at Richard's smile, at Brooke's satisfaction. They looked happy, unburdened, like people who'd gotten away with something. But the comments under the screenshots told a different story. Thousands of people expressing outrage, disgust, calling for investigations, calling for arrests. Good, Claire said. Her voice was hoarse from the breathing tube. Let them see exactly who he is. A different kind of pain settled into her chest. Not physical, emotional. The death of innocence. The end of trust. The realization that the man she'd loved had never existed. He'd been a performance, a role played to perfection until he didn't need to play it anymore. He thinks he's won. The thought was ice cold. Clear. He has no idea what's coming. Validation whisper. My babies deserve better than a murderer for a father. Can I see them now? Claire asked. My babies? Not yet. You need a few more hours of recovery, but I have photos. Joanna pulled out her phone, showed Claire pictures of 2 tiny infants, red-faced, wrinkled, wired to monitors, beautiful beyond words. The girl has your nose, Joanna said. The boy has your father's chin. Names? You have to name them, honey. What do you want to call your children? Claire looked at the photos, at her daughter's fierce little face, at her son's serious expression. Sophia, she said, for Richard's mother, because she deserves to have something good associated with that family. And the boy? James, after Dad. He would have loved being a grandfather. James Patrick Thornton and Sophia Grace Thornton, Joanna said. Perfect. Not Thornton. Claire's voice was firm despite the pain, despite the exhaustion. Marshall, James Patrick Marshall, Sophia Grace Marshall. They don't need his name. They have mine. Alicia typed notes. I'll add that to the divorce petition. Full name change for both children. Can he fight it? He can try, but given the circumstance, the attempted murder charges, the infidelity, the fraud, no judge is going to force you to give his name to children he tried to kill before they were born. The pain medication pulled at Claire, made everything soft and distant. She fought it, wanted to stay awake, wanted to see her children. But her body had other ideas. Exhaustion won. She drifted into sleep. She woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. Messages, hundreds of them. Alicia had her tablet open, showing Claire news articles. The story had exploded. Tech CEO accused of attempted murder. Wife delivers twins during investigation. Security footage shows mistress in ICU room. Oxygen disconnected $24 million life insurance policy. Billionaire's deadly scheme. The articles included everything. The security footage screenshots. Nurse Jennifer's testimony. Dr. Mitchell's statement. The life insurance policy. Brooks' employment history. The celebratory restaurant photo. Public opinion had turned completely. Richard's company board called an emergency meeting. Stock prices were plummeting. Investors were pulling out. His reputation was destroyed. His empire was crumbling. And somewhere in the hospital, two tiny infants slept, unaware that their existence had sparked a war, unaware that their mother had nearly died to protect them, unaware that they were the reason everything changed. But Claire knew. She felt it in the ache of her incision, in the emptiness of her arms waiting to hold them, in the fierce protective love that made every pain worth it. While Claire recovered, an unexpected ally was forming a plan. Claire was moved to a regular hospital room the next morning, out of recovery, still on heavy pain medication, but stable, alive, a survivor. She'd been allowed into the NICU for 15 minutes, just to see them, not to hold them yet, but to see. Sophia Grace Marshall lay in an incubator, wires everywhere, feeding tube, oxygen monitor. But her eyes were open, alert, fighting. Like her mother, James Patrick Marshall was in the next incubator, quieter, more content, sleeping peacefully despite the needles and tubes, like his grandfather. Patient, steady. Claire had stood between them, placed her hands through the incubator openings, felt their tiny fingers wrap around hers. The grip was weak but determined. A promise, we're here. We made it. Now back in her room, Claire felt the loss of their presence. Her arms ached to hold them. Her body knew they were missing. Every instinct screamed to go back to the NICU, to stay beside them, to never let them out of her sight. But her incision pulled when she moved. The pain was intense. Reminders of major surgery, of emergency delivery, of a body pushed to its absolute limit. Joanna was knitting in the corner. Some project for the babies. Blankets or hats or something Claire couldn't quite focus on through the medication haze. A knock at the door. Claire tensed. Every knock was potential danger now. Every visitor was suspect. It's okay, Joanna said. I checked. It's Richard's mother. The door opened. Grace Thornton entered. She was 72 but looked younger. Money could do that. Good skin care, personal trainers, expensive clothing. She wore a gray suit, pearls. Her white hair was perfectly styled. Claire had met Grace maybe a dozen times in 5 years of marriage. Grace lived in Boston, old money, old family. She'd always been polite but distant, disapproving of Richard marrying someone without a pedigree, someone middle class. Mrs. Thornton, Claire tried to sit up straighter. Failed. The pain was too much. Don't move. Grace's voice was firm, commanding. She pulled a chair close to the bed, sat with perfect posture. looked Claire directly in the eyes. I need to speak with you, alone. Joanna stood, protective. I don't think it's okay, Mom. Claire didn't know why she said it. Instinct, maybe. Curiosity. Give us a few minutes. Joanna left reluctantly, took her knitting to the waiting room. Grace sat in silence for a long moment, her hands folded in her lap. Then she looked up, met Claire's eyes, and what Claire saw there shocked her. Grief, rage, determination. I raised a monster, Grace said. Her voice was quiet but firm. I'm here to help you destroy him. Mount Claire blinked. The medication made everything slightly unreal. Maybe she was hallucinating. What? Richard's father was the same, affair after affair, financial manipulation, emotional abuse. When I finally divorced him, he bankrupted me intentionally, dragged me through court for 3 years, took everything I'd helped build. I barely survived it. I didn't know. I don't talk about it. Pride, shame, stubbornness. But I've watched Richard become his father. I've watched him make the same choices, hurt the same people. And I did nothing. I told myself it wasn't my place to interfere, that he was an adult making his own decisions. I was wrong. Grace reached into her purse, pulled out a thick folder, placed it on Claire's bedside table. This is 20 years of documentation. Offshore accounts I've tracked, business deals I know are questionable, affairs I've known about but didn't report, patterns of behavior that show calculated manipulation. I've been keeping records. Just in case. Today is in case. Why are you doing this? Because I won't let Richard do to you what his father did to me. Because those babies upstairs are my grandchildren and they deserve better. Because I'm 72 years old. What can he do to me? Sue me? I have more money than he does. Threaten me? I have connections he's only starting to understand. I'm done being complicit. Mirror moment. Grace twisted her wedding ring while talking, a habit she'd never broken. 40 years divorced, and she still wore it, a reminder of her own survival. Grace, he tried to kill me. He signed paperwork to let me die. His mistress disconnected my oxygen. My babies almost died because of him. I know, I saw the security footage. The police showed it to me yesterday. They interviewed me, asked about Richard's childhood, his relationship with his father, his patterns. I told them everything. You're testifying against your own son? I'm testifying against a man who tried to murder his pregnant wife for insurance money. That's not my son. I don't know who that is. Grace's eyes were hard, determined. But underneath, Claire saw the pain. The mother losing a child, not to death, but to evil. To choices so abhorrent, they severed family bonds. I have resources, Grace continued. Old money connections. A legal team that's been with my family for 60 years. Investigators who work quietly and efficiently. I'm putting all of it at your disposal. What do you want in return? Honesty. Don't pretend Richard is someone he's not to protect my feelings. He's guilty. We both know it. I want the truth exposed. I want justice served. And I want visitation rights with my grandchildren when this is over. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. Claire studied Grace's face, looked for deception, for manipulation, found none. Just exhaustion, just resignation. Just a woman who'd lived through her own nightmare and recognized it happening again. Validation whispers spoken aloud. You're stopping him now. That's what matters. Grace nodded. Thank you. They sat in silence. 2 women, 2 generations, both betrayed by Thornton men, both survivors, both fighters. I should have stopped him years ago, and Grace said quietly. I saw the signs, the way he treated girlfriends in college, the way he talked about women as assets, as stepping stones. I told myself he'd grow out of it, that he was just young and stupid. I was a coward. You're here now. Too late to prevent this, but maybe not too late to fix it. The door opened. Joanna entered carefully. Claire needs to rest. Her blood pressure is rising. Grace stood, smoothed her skirt, and collected her perfect composure. But she paused at the door. Claire, when the babies are released from NICU, I'd like to meet them properly. Not as Richard's mother, as Grace. Just Grace, and a grandmother who wants to do better. We'll see, Claire said, non-committal, cautious, but not a no. Grace left. Her heels clicked down the hallway, confident, purposeful, a woman on a mission. Did that really just happen? Claire asked. I think Grace Thornton just declared war on her own son, Joanna said. And honestly, I'm here for it. 2 hours later, Claire was finally allowed back into the NICU, this time for longer, this time to hold them. The nurse helped her into a rocking chair. Careful of the IV, mindful of the incision, she placed Sophia in Claire's arms first. 4 pounds, 3 ounces felt like nothing and everything at once. So light, so fragile, but also so present, so real, so completely and utterly alive. Sophia's eyes opened, unfocused, new. She looked up at her mother's face with that ancient wisdom newborns seem to carry, like they know secrets they'll forget by tomorrow. Claire's tears came then, silent, overwhelming. Relief and joy and grief and fear all tangled together. Hi, baby girl, she whispered. I'm your mama. I'm sorry I couldn't hold you sooner. I'm sorry for everything. But you're safe now. You're here. You're alive. Sophia's tiny hand curled around Claire's finger. The grip was surprisingly strong. A declaration. I'm a fighter, like you. The nurse brought James next, took Sophia back to her incubator, placed James in Claire's arms. He was smaller, quieter, but his heartbeat was steady against her chest, his breathing even. He fit perfectly in the curve of her arms, like he'd always belonged there. Hi, James, Claire said. You're named after your grandfather. He was a good man, patient, kind, strong in quiet ways. I hope you're like him. Breathing room moment. The NICU faded. The monitors became white noise. The other parents and nurses blurred to background. This moment was just Claire and her son. Mother and child, everything else could wait. The warmth inside the incubator when she'd touched them earlier. The beeping monitors keeping rhythm. The softness of newborn skin against her palm. These sensory details anchored her, reminded her this was real. This had happened. She'd survived. Internal statement, no one will ever hurt you, ever. Someone took a photo, Joanna probably, or maybe a nurse. Claire didn't care. Let them document this. Let there be proof, this moment of peace, this moment of victory, this moment when everything changed. She had to give them back too soon. Back to their incubators, back to the monitors and tubes and medical care. But she'd held them, smelled them, felt their weight. They were real now, not just abstract concepts, not just two heartbeats on a monitor. Her children, her reason for everything. Back in her room, Detective Webb was waiting. He stood when she entered, helped the nurse get her settled in bed. Mrs. Thornton, how are you feeling? Like I was cut in half and put back together, but alive. The babies are okay. I'm glad. He sat, opened his notebook. I interviewed Brooke Davies yesterday, with her attorney present. What did she say? She's lawyered up, sophisticated attorney, expensive. He did most of the talking. Brooke refused to answer most questions, exercised her Fifth Amendment rights. But her lawyer made it clear she denies being in your hospital room, denies touching your oxygen, claims the security footage shows her entering the wrong room by mistake. That's absurd. I know, the timestamp shows she was in your room for exactly 5 minutes. The oxygen alarm triggered during those 5 minutes. She exited immediately after. It's not a coincidence. What about Richard? I'm interviewing him tomorrow morning. His attorneys have been difficult, requesting delays, demanding to see evidence first, threatening lawsuits if we proceed without probable cause. Standard tactics for wealthy defendants. But you have probable cause, the footage, the DNR, the insurance policy, the financial motive. I do, which is why I'm notifying you now. We're moving forward with charges, attempted murder, conspiracy, insurance fraud, possibly more depending on what the DA's office wants to add. When? Within the week. We're building the strongest possible case, making sure everything is airtight. But Claire, I need you to understand something. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Richard will fight. He has resources. This will be a long legal battle. I don't care how long it takes. I want him prosecuted. Good. Webb closed his notebook. Because you're going to have to be strong. Testify, relive the trauma, face cross-examination from defense attorneys who will try to make you look unstable. Can you do that? Claire looked at the NICU monitor set up in her room, split screen showing both incubators, Sophia sleeping, James awake and alert. For them, I can do anything. Webb nodded. I believe you. He left. Claire was alone with her thoughts, with her pain, with her fear, but also with something new, something that hadn't been there before the surgery. Hope. Richard had tried to erase her, delete her from existence, cash in on her death. But she was still here, breathing, fighting, and she had allies now. Alicia, Detective Webb, Nurse Jennifer, even Grace. An army of people who believed her, who saw the truth. Validation whisper, the world is seeing what I saw. I'm not alone anymore. But Richard had one more card to play. Claire was discharged from the hospital 3 days after giving birth, against medical advice. Too soon. But she couldn't stay on any longer. The babies had to remain in NICU for at least another week, maybe 2. And Claire needed to be strategic, mobile, ready. Alicia rented an apartment near the hospital. 1 bedroom, furnished, month-to-month lease. Close enough for Claire to visit the NICU every few hours, far enough from her old life that Richard wouldn't know where to find her. Joanna stayed, set up a temporary home base, cooked meals Claire could barely eat, managed medication schedules, drove Claire to the hospital and back, became the scaffolding holding everything together. The legal papers arrived on day 4. A process server came to the apartment, handed Claire a thick envelope. Court documents, official seals, her new reality. Petition for emergency custody and parental rights. Richard was suing for full custody of Sophia and James, sole legal and physical custody. Claire was listed as an unfit parent. The grounds were extensive, detailed, vicious, mental instability, paranoid delusions, postpartum psychosis risk, inability to care for infants due to psychiatric symptoms, a danger to herself and others. He included affidavits from 3 psychiatrists, none of whom had ever met Claire. All diagnosed her based on Richard's descriptions: paranoid personality disorder, delusional disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder manifesting as false accusations. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for 3 days from now. Judge Patricia Hernandez presiding. Claire read the documents twice, then a third time. The words blurred. Her hands shook. Rich man versus woman accused of mental illness. The system favored him. Money, power, respectability. She was just a hysterical wife, a hormonal mother, an unreliable narrator. They can't actually believe this, Claire said. Can they? I have evidence. Security footage, nurse testimony, insurance documents. They don't care about evidence yet, Alicia said. She'd arrived within an hour of the papers being served. This is a tactical maneuver. Richard knows criminal charges are coming, so he's striking first. If he gets custody now, before the criminal trial, he can claim the accusations are just part of a custody dispute. Make it look like you're lying to gain advantage in divorce proceedings. But that's insane. The security footage will be challenged. His lawyers will claim you misinterpreted what you saw, that Brooke was just checking on you, that the oxygen disconnected accidentally, that Richard was trying to help, not hurt. They'll spin everything. And the psychiatrists? How can they diagnose me without ever meeting me? They can't, not ethically, but Richard found psychiatrists willing to testify based on his descriptions. It happens more than you'd think in high-stakes custody cases. We'll challenge their credentials, question their ethics. But Claire, we need to be prepared. Panic set in, physical, visceral. Claire's heart raced, her breath came short. The room tilted. Joanna grabbed her shoulders. Breathe, look at me, breathe. Claire forced air into her lungs, counted 1, 2, 3. The panic receded slightly, manageable, but still there, lurking. He's going to take them, Claire whispered. He tried to kill us and failed. So now he's going to take them from me legally. No, Alicia's voice was steel. He's not. We fight. We show the court who he really is. We present evidence. We bring witnesses. We win. How? You said the system favors him. The system favors whoever has the strongest case, and ours is stronger, but we need to build it fast. Alicia spread documents across the apartment's small dining table, created a war room, laptop, legal pads, highlighters, sticky notes, the tools of courtroom battle. Here's what we have. Security footage showing Brooke in your room when oxygen disconnected. Richard blocking the nurse caller button. Time-stamped and undeniable. His lawyers will claim it's out of context. Maybe, but we also have Nurse Jennifer's documentation, independent, contemporaneous. Medical records don't lie. We have Dr. Mitchell's testimony about the suspicious DNR. We have Detective Webb's investigation. We have the life insurance policy with its convenient timing. We have Brooke's pattern of employment with wealthy married men. And Richard has 3 psychiatrists saying I'm crazy. None of whom have met you, all of whom Richard paid. We'll get our own psychiatrist, a reputable one, someone who will actually examine you, prove you're stable, rational, fully competent. That takes weeks. The hearing is in 3 days. So we work fast. I'm calling Dr. Ellen Krauss, best forensic psychiatrist in the state, former expert witness in over 200 cases. If she agrees to see you, her testimony will outweigh all 3 of Richard's hired guns. Alicia made the call, stepped into the bedroom. Claire heard muffled conversation. Urgent, persuasive. Alicia in full lawyer mode. She returned 10 minutes later. Dr. Krauss will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. She's clearing her schedule. I sent her all the documentation, security footage, medical records, everything. She'll do a full evaluation. If she finds you competent, she'll testify. And if she doesn't, she will, because you are competent, you're traumatized, you're recovering from major surgery, you're exhausted and scared, but you're not delusional, you're not a danger, you're a mother fighting to protect her children. That's not mental illness, that's survival. Grace Thornton arrived an hour later. She didn't call first, just showed up, knocked, entered when Joanna opened the door. I heard about the custody filing, Grace said. Richard's attorneys copied me on the paperwork. Professional courtesy or cruelty, I'm not sure which. Did you know he was going to do this? Claire asked. No, but I should have anticipated it. It's exactly what his father did. When I filed for divorce, he immediately sued for custody of Richard, claimed I was mentally unstable, brought in doctors who'd never met me. It's a pattern. The Thornton men don't lose. They just changed the game. What happened? With your custody case? I won eventually, but it took 2 years. 2 years of fighting, 2 years of supervised visitations, 2 years of Richard being told his mother was crazy. By the time the courts ruled in my favor, the damage was done. Grace sat down, looked older suddenly. Tired. I'm bringing my legal team. The firm has been with my family since 1953. They've handled everything. Estates, trusts, divorces, criminal defense, whatever you need, they'll provide. Why? Claire had to ask. He's your son. He tried to murder you. He signed papers to let you die. He endangered my grandchildren before they were even born. That's not a son. That's a criminal. And I will not protect criminals. Not anymore. I protected his father for too long. Let him get away with too much. I won't make that mistake again. Mirror moment. Everyone spoke in legal terms. Custody, testimony, evidence, strategy. But Claire just wanted to hold her babies, feed them, rock them to sleep. The disconnect was jarring, painful. They were talking about her children like chess pieces, strategic assets, legal prizes. Joanna made coffee. Strong, Italian roast, the kind that brought clarity with every sip. They sat around the table. 4 women, building a defense. We need to present you as stable, capable, and protective, Alicia said. Not as a victim. Victims look weak. We present you as a survivor who recognized danger and took action. The court will want to see your fitness as a mother, Grace added. Your ability to care for medically fragile infants, your mental state, your living situation. Everything will be scrutinized. I've been to the NICU every 3 hours since discharge, Claire said. I've learned how to feed them through feeding tubes, how to change them while they're connected to monitors, how to read their vital signs. The nurses say I'm a natural. Good. We'll get statements from the NICU staff, testimony about your maternal competence. The planning continued for hours. Who would testify? What evidence would be presented? How to counter Richard's claims? The choreography of courtroom theater. At 8 p.m., Claire excused herself, went to the hospital for another NICU visit. Joanna drove. Neither spoke. The silence was comfortable, necessary. Sophia was awake when Claire arrived. Her eyes tracked movement now, following sounds, growing stronger every day. She weighed 4 pounds, 9 ounces, gaining weight, thriving despite everything. James slept peacefully, 5 pounds even, bigger than his sister, calmer, content. His monitors showed perfect numbers. Oxygen saturation 98%, heart rate steady. Claire sat between their incubators, placed one hand in each opening, let their tiny fingers wrap around hers. This was meditation. This was prayer. This was everything that mattered. A nurse approached, young, maybe mid-20s. She'd been on duty the night of the oxygen incident. "Ms. Marshall, can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course." "I heard about the custody hearing. Jennifer told us. The NICU staff. We want you to know we're all willing to testify. We've seen you with your babies. We've seen how much you love them, how hard you're working to learn their care. You're not crazy. You're one of the best mothers we've had in this unit." "Thank you," Claire's voice broke. "That means everything." "Also," the nurse lowered her voice, "Mr. Thornton tried to visit the NICU this morning, early, before most staff arrived. Said he wanted to see his children. We have him banned from the unit per your protective order, but he was insistent." "What did he do?" "He offered money, donations to the hospital, new equipment for the NICU, a new wing if that's what it took. He wanted access. We refused. Security escorted him out. But he's not giving up. He wants those babies." "For leverage," Claire approached it. "If he has them, I can't testify against him. If he has custody, he controls the narrative. This isn't about the children. It's about winning. Most of the staff knows that. We're documenting everything. His visits, his offers, his behavior. If you need it for court, we have it. I need it, please." "You'll have it." The nurse left. Claire stayed with the babies, watched them sleep and wake, and sleep again. The rhythm of infant life. So simple, so pure, so removed from the ugliness of custody battles and attempted murder charges. Breathing room moment. Claire alone in the NICU at 3 a.m. Most babies sleeping, a few monitors beeping softly. She watched Sophia and James on the camera feed the nurses had set up for her. Counted their breaths, her own breathing synced to theirs. In, out, in, out. 3 heartbeats breathing as one. The next morning, Claire went to see Dr. Krause. The psychiatrist's office was professional, warm, furnished with comfortable chairs and abstract art, and the careful neutrality of therapeutic spaces. Dr. Krause was 63, gray hair worn short, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She'd reviewed all the documents Alicia sent, watched the security footage, read the medical records. The evaluation took 4 hours. Questions about Claire's childhood, her marriage, her pregnancy, the oxygen incident, her emotional state, her plans for the babies, her support system, psychological tests, memory assessments, logic puzzles, personality inventories, everything designed to detect delusion, paranoia, or psychiatric instability. At the end, Dr. Krause sat back, reviewed her notes, looked at Claire directly. "Mrs. Marshall, you are not delusional. You are not paranoid. You show no signs of postpartum psychosis. What you show is entirely appropriate anxiety given that someone attempted to kill you. That's not mental illness. That's a rational response to real danger." "What, you'll testify to that?" "Absolutely. And I'll challenge the credentials of any psychiatrist who diagnosed you without examination." "That's unethical. Potentially grounds for license review. I'll make that clear in court." "Thank you." "Don't thank me. I'm just telling the truth. You're a trauma survivor, Claire, but you're surviving well. You're functional, protective, strategic. You're exactly the kind of mother those babies need. Claire left the office feeling something she hadn't felt in days. Hope. Real, tangible hope. The custody hearing was tomorrow. The battle was just beginning. But she wasn't alone. She had evidence. She had allies. She had the truth. And sometimes in a just world, that was enough. But Claire would soon learn just how far Richard was willing to go. The story broke that evening. Social media erupted. Someone had leaked the security footage to TikTok. Grainy but clear. Brooke entering Claire's room. Richard blocking the call button. Time-stamped. Undeniable. The video went viral in hours. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. Hashtags trending. Hashtag justice for Claire. Hash billionaire killer. At ICU attack. Richard's company board called another emergency meeting. More investors pulled out. Stock dropped 20% in a single day. The tech community was distancing itself. Conference rescinding invitations. Partnerships dissolving. Richard's empire was crumbling. Publicly, spectacularly. And he had no way to stop it. Alicia called that evening. The viral video changes everything. Public opinion is completely on your side. The court will see it. The judge will see it. This is good for us. But the next message was less encouraging. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won. You haven't. Those babies are mine. Tomorrow proves it. Claire showed Joanna, then Alicia, then Detective Webb, who documented it immediately. Threatening communication, Webb said. Violation of the protective order. I'll use this. But the damage was done. Richard had sent his message. He wasn't surrendering. The custody hearing would be war. Claire couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw scenarios. Losing the babies. Richard taking them. Never seeing them again. The nightmares were vivid, visceral, terrible. At 4 a.m., she gave up on sleep. Went to the hospital. The NICU staff let her in. Let her sit with Sophia and James in the quiet pre-dawn hours. She whispered promises to them. Promises about safety, about protection, about a future where they'd never doubt their mother fought for them. Internal statement. I'm fighting for them. Every step hurts, but I'm fighting. Validation whisper. The world is seeing what I saw. I'm not alone anymore. The sun rose. The custody hearing was in 5 hours. Claire went back to the apartment, showered, dressed in the clothes Alicia had selected. Simple, professional. Mother clothes, not victim clothes. Grace arrived with her legal team. 3 attorneys, 2 paralegals, an army of legal expertise ready to defend Claire's right to her own children. Ready? Alicia asked. Claire looked at herself in the mirror, saw the warrior staring back, didn't quite recognize her, but accepted her anyway. Mirror moment, Claire checking her reflection, not recognizing the warrior staring back, but knowing that warrior was who she needed to be. Ready, she said. The custody hearing would determine everything. But Claire had a surprise planned. The courthouse was packed. Media everywhere. Cameras, reporters, people who'd followed the viral story and wanted to witness the next chapter in person. Claire entered through a side door, flanked by Alicia on one side, Grace on the other. Joanna followed close behind, their protective formation, their human shield against the chaos. Richard was already in the courtroom. 3 rows of attorneys behind him, expensive suits, leather briefcases. The visual representation of wealth and power. He looked calm, confident, like a man who'd never doubted he'd win. He didn't look at Claire when she entered, didn't acknowledge her existence. She was nothing to him now, just an obstacle to remove. The courtroom was traditional. Dark wood, high ceilings, judge's bench elevated. The architecture of authority and judgment. Judge Patricia Hernandez entered. She was 59, Hispanic, 25 years on the bench. Reputation for being fair but tough. No patience for nonsense from either side. This is an emergency custody hearing regarding minors Sophia Grace Marshall and James Patrick Marshall, the judge said. Mr. Thornton, you filed the petition. You'll present first. Richard's lead attorney stood. Martin Winchester, 62, silver hair, partner at the state's largest law firm, known for winning, known for aggressive tactics, known for destroying opposing parties on cross-examination. Your Honor, we're here today because of serious concerns about Mrs. Thornton's fitness as a parent. As detailed in our filing, Mrs. Thornton has exhibited signs of paranoid delusions, making false accusations against my client and displaying behavior consistent with postpartum psychosis. He presented the psychiatrist's affidavits, called the first psychiatrist to the stand, Dr. Theodore Cross, 68, distinguished professor, published author. Never met Claire. Dr. Cross, based on Mr. Thornton's descriptions of his wife's behavior, what's your professional opinion? I believe Mrs. Thornton is experiencing a severe mental health crisis. Her accusations against her husband are consistent with persecutory delusions. Her belief that he attempted to murder her to just paranoid ideation. Combined with postpartum hormonal changes, this creates a dangerous situation for infant care. In your expert opinion, should Mrs. Thornton have custody of the children? Not at this time, not until she receives treatment and stabilizes. Alicia's cross-examination was surgical, precise, devastating. Dr. Cross, when did you meet with Mrs. Marshall? I haven't met with her directly. You diagnosed her without examination? I reviewed Mr. Thornton's detailed reports of her behavior. Mr. Thornton's reports, the accused party's version of events, you based a psychiatric diagnosis on information from someone with a financial and legal interest in proving his wife is unstable? I used professional judgment based on the information provided. Did you review security footage showing Ms. Brooke Davies disconnecting Mrs. Marshall's oxygen? I was not provided that footage. Did you review hospital documentation of the incident? No. Did you review the life insurance policy Mr. Thornton took out on Mrs. Marshall? That's not relevant to, did you review it? No. Oh, so you diagnosed a woman you've never met based solely on information from an accused party without reviewing any contradictory evidence? I use standard diagnostic procedures. Standard procedures include examining the patient. You didn't do that. No further questions. Dr. Cross left the stand looking rattled, his credibility damaged. But Richard had two more psychiatrists. Winchester called them both. Similar testimony, similar credentials, similar lack of actual examination. Alicia dismantled each one methodically, exposed their ethical violations, questioned their motivations, made it clear they were hired guns, not objective experts. Then Winchester called character witnesses. Richard's business associates, country club friends, people who'd known Richard for years, all testified to his good character, his love for his unborn children, his concern for Claire's mental health. It was a performance. Choreographed, rehearsed, convincing to anyone who didn't know the truth. Your Honor, Winchester concluded, Mr. Thornton simply wants what's best for his children. He wants them to be safe. He wants their mother to get help. But until she does, he must protect them. That's not cruelty. That's love. Judge Hernandez looked unmoved. Ms. Bradford, your response? Alicia stood. She'd been taking notes throughout, cross-referencing, preparing. Now she attacked. Your Honor, this entire petition is a distraction, a tactical maneuver to discredit the victim before criminal charges are filed. The evidence will show that Mr. Thornton and his associate, Ms. Brooke Davies, conspired to murder Mrs. Marshall for insurance money. When that failed, he's trying to destroy her credibility preemptively. That's a serious accusation, Counselor, backed by serious evidence. If I may, the judge nodded. Alicia pulled up the security footage on the courtroom screens. Large, clear, impossible to ignore. Timestamp, 1:47 a.m. Brooke entering the ICU, looking around, checking for witnesses. 1:52 a.m. Entering Claire's room. 1:52 a.m. Oxygen alarm triggering at nurse's station. 1:53 a.m. Brooke exiting quickly. Caught. 1:54 a.m. Richard appearing from stairwell, not elevator, already in the building. 1:55 a.m. Richard entering Claire's room. 1:58 a.m. Nurse Jennifer rushing in. Camera angle 2. Richard's hand visible. pressed on the nurse call button, blocking it, preventing Claire from getting help. The courtroom was silent, everyone watching, seeing the evidence, undeniable, damning, real. This is what Mr. Thornton calls concern for his wife, Alicia said. He coordinated with his mistress to disconnect her oxygen. He prevented her from calling for help. He signed DNR papers the day before to ensure no one would save her if she coded. This isn't mental illness on Mrs. Marshall's part. This is attempted murder on his. Winchester objected. Your Honor, this footage is out of context. My client was trying to help his wife. The oxygen came loose accidentally. The oxygen was disconnected for 5 minutes, Alicia interrupted. Precisely during Ms. Davies' presence in the room. Mrs. Marshall was 35 weeks pregnant with twins. Oxygen deprivation could have caused brain damage or death. This was calculated, premeditated, caught on camera. Alicia called her first witness, Nurse Jennifer Garrett. She testified clearly, professionally, detailed what she'd found when she entered the room. The disconnected oxygen, Claire's oxygen saturation in the 80s, Richard's hand on the call button, the clinical observations of someone who'd seen something very wrong. And in your professional opinion, could the oxygen have disconnected accidentally? No, the connections are secure, designed not to come loose. Someone had to physically remove it from the wall outlet. Thank you. Winchester's cross-examination tried to shake her testimony, suggested she'd misremembered, misinterpreted. He failed. Jennifer's documentation was contemporaneous, detailed, unshakable. Dr. Mitchell testified next about the suspicious DNR, about Claire's condition, about the baby's distress following oxygen deprivation. Baby A showed signs of hypoxia consistent with oxygen deprivation. Baby B was declining. We had to deliver early because of damage from the incident. Could that damage have been prevented? If the oxygen hadn't been disconnected, yes. The twins would likely still be in utero, developing normally. The emergency C-section was necessary because of what happened. Then Alicia called Dr. Ellen Krause. The courtroom leaned forward. Expert witnesses carried weight. And Dr. Krause had a reputation. She testified about her evaluation of Claire. The 4-hour examination, the psychological testing, the results. Mrs. Marshall shows no signs of delusion. No paranoia beyond appropriate anxiety given her circumstances. She's experienced significant trauma. Someone attempted to kill her. That's real, documented, caught on camera. Her response to that trauma is entirely normal and rational. What about the allegations of postpartum psychosis? She shows 0 symptoms. She's bonding appropriately with her infants. She's learning their care. The NICU staff reports she's attentive, careful, and competent. Postpartum psychosis presents differently. This isn't it. Should Mrs. Marshall have custody of her children? Absolutely. She's precisely the kind of parent those children need. Protective, strategic, willing to fight for their safety. That's not mental illness. That's good parenting. Winchester tried to discredit Dr. Krause, questioned her methodology, suggested bias. She remained unshaken, answered every question with calm authority, made it clear she knew her field and stood by her evaluation. Then Alicia called her surprise witness. Grace Thornton, the courtroom stirred, Richard's mother, taking the stand against her son. Winchester looked shocked. Richard's face went pale. He hadn't expected this. Grace was sworn in. She sat with perfect posture, looked directly at the judge, didn't look at Richard at all. Mrs. Thornton, what's your relationship to the parties in this case? Richard is my son. Claire is my daughter-in-law. Sophia and James are my grandchildren. And you're here to testify against your son? I'm here to testify to the truth. Richard's father was abusive, financially manipulative. When I divorced him, he tried to destroy me, used the same tactics, false accusations of mental illness, hired psychiatrists who never met me, fought for custody of Richard to control me. I won eventually, but the damage was done. What damage? Richard learned those tactics, learned that women can be controlled through accusations of instability, through financial pressure, through custody threats. I've watched him repeat his father's patterns his entire adult life. I should have intervened sooner. I didn't. That's on me, but I'm intervening now. Do you believe Claire Marshall is mentally unstable? No, I believe she's a mother protecting her children from a man who tried to kill her. That's sanity. That's strength. Do you believe Richard should have custody? No, my son attempted murder for financial gain. The evidence is clear. He should be in jail, not raising children. Winchester jumped up. Objection. The witness is biased and overruled, Judge Hernandez said. The witness is the defendant's mother. Her testimony carries significant weight. Continue, Mrs. Thornton. Grace did. She testified about Richard's childhood, his treatment of girlfriends, his pattern of viewing women as assets, the offshore accounts she'd tracked, the questionable business deals, 20 years of documentation, all of it building a picture of a man capable of exactly what he was accused of. When she finished, Richard looked broken, his mother's betrayal visible on his face. His attorney scrambled, whispered urgently, but the damage was done. The judge called a recess, 20 minutes to review evidence and prepare her ruling. Claire sat in the hallway outside the courtroom, Alicia beside her, Grace on the other side, Joanna hovering nearby. That was brutal, Claire said. That was necessary, Grace replied. He's my son, but he's also a criminal. I can't protect criminals anymore. The 20 minutes felt like hours, but eventually the bailiff called them back. The judge was ready. Everyone stood when Judge Hernandez entered. She sat, organized her notes, looked at both parties. I've reviewed all evidence presented today. Security footage, medical records, expert testimony, financial documents. And I've considered the serious allegations against Mr. Thornton. She paused. The courtroom held its breath. Mr. Thornton, in my 30 years on this bench, I have never seen such a calculated attempt to harm a vulnerable person. The security footage is damning. The timing of the life insurance policy is suspicious. The DNR signed without patient consent is alarming. And the coordination with Ms. Davies suggests conspiracy. Richard's attorneys tried to interject. The judge held up her hand, silenced them. Mrs. Marshall is granted full and sole legal and physical custody of Sophia Grace Marshall and James Patrick Marshall. Mr. Thornton is granted supervised visitation only, 2 hours per week, at a court-approved facility with a court-appointed supervisor present, no contact with Ms. Davies during any visitation, no overnight visits, no unsupervised contact of any kind. She continued, Mr. Thornton will pay maximum child support as calculated by state guidelines. He will maintain health insurance for both children. He will not come within 500 feet of Mrs. Marshall except during supervised visitations. Furthermore, I'm ordering a psychological evaluation of Mr. Thornton. Before any custody modification can be considered, he must undergo examination by a court-appointed psychiatrist, not one he selects and pays for. One the court selects. Richard stood. Your Honor, this is... Sit down, Mr. Thornton. I'm not finished. He sat, his face red, his hands clenched. The evidence presented today suggests possible criminal activity. I'm forwarding this entire record to the district attorney's office with a recommendation for further investigation. This court takes attempted harm to minors very seriously. And make no mistake, attempting to kill a pregnant woman is attempting to harm her unborn children. She banged her gavel. Custody granted to Mrs. Marshall. This hearing is adjourned. The courtroom erupted. Media shouting questions. Richard's attorneys protesting. But it didn't matter. The judge had ruled. Claire had won. She walked out of the courthouse flanked by her army. Alicia, Grace, Joanna, protected, vindicated, victorious. Outside, Detective Webb was waiting, with 2 other detectives, and arrest warrants. Richard James Thornton, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and assault. Webb read him his rights while another detective handcuffed him. Richard's face showed utter shock. He actually believed he'd win, believed his money and lawyers could save him. He was wrong. Brooke Catherine Davies is being arrested simultaneously, Webb said to Claire, at her apartment. Both of you will be safe now. Media filmed everything. Richard in handcuffs on the courthouse steps, being led to a police car, his empire crumbling publicly, his crimes exposed, justice happening in real time. Claire didn't watch. She was already in the car, already heading back to the hospital, already focused on the only thing that mattered, her children. Internal statement, this isn't victory, this is survival, but I'll take it. But the bigger verdict was already in. The court of public opinion had spoken, the legal system had ruled, and Claire Elizabeth Marshall was free. Detective Webb waited outside the hospital. He leaned against his unmarked car, patient, professional. When Claire arrived, he straightened, approached carefully. Mrs. Marshall, I wanted to update you personally. Richard Thornton and Brooke Davies are both in custody. No bail has been set yet. The DA is arguing their flight risks. Are they? Richard has offshore accounts, privated planes, resources to disappear. Yes, they're flight risks. I expect the judge will agree. What happens now? Arraignment tomorrow. They'll enter pleas. Probably not guilty. Then we prepare for trial. Could take months. But Claire, the evidence is strong. The security footage alone is damning. Combined with the insurance policy, the DNR, Nurse Jennifer's testimony, Dr. Mitchell's records, it's a solid case. What if they get out? What if they come after me again? The protective order is still in place, expanded now to include no contact pending trial. If either of them violates it, they go back to jail immediately. You and your children are protected. Claire wanted to believe him, wanted to feel safe, but fear didn't operate on logic. It lived in the body, in the adrenaline, in the hypervigilance that kept her checking over her shoulder. Thank you, she said, for believing me, for investigating, for not dismissing this as a domestic dispute. I have a wife, Webb said quietly. She had a difficult pregnancy with our daughter, spent weeks in the hospital, high risk, scary. I remember what that fear felt like. If someone had tried to hurt her during that time. He paused. Let's just say I take these cases personally. He left. Claire entered the hospital, went straight to the NICU. The nurse on duty smiled when she saw her. Congratulations on the custody ruling, we heard. Thank you. How are they? Sophia's off the feeding tube, taking bottles now. James is doing great. Oxygen levels perfect. They'll both be ready for discharge soon. Maybe a week. A week. 7 days until she could take them home. 7 days until they'd be a real family instead of a mother visiting children in plastic boxes. Claire sat between the incubators. This had become her meditation space, her church, the place where everything made sense because all that mattered was two tiny humans breathing steadily. She'd been allowed to hold them together today, one in each arm, the first time. Their combined weight was less than 10 pounds, but it felt like holding the entire world. Sophia had looked up at her with those bees' newborn eyes. James had yawned, tiny mouth, pink gums, the most mundane and miraculous thing Claire had ever seen. Your father tried to erase us, she whispered to them now. But we're here. We're still here. You'll grow up knowing your mother fought for you. You'll never doubt you were wanted. Sensory details, their weight in her arms earlier, baby sounds, little grunts and saws. The steady heartbeats transmitted through skin-to-skin contact. The warmth, the realness, the proof that survival was possible. Mirror technique moment. This time the 3 a.m. hospital moment was peaceful, not panicked. The beeping monitors were no longer harbingers of danger, just background music to life continuing. Alicia texted, civil suits filed against Richard, fraud, emotional distress, attempted murder torts. His assets are frozen pending litigation. He can't access anything without court approval. Another text. Grace's legal team filed for conservatorship of Thor Tech. Board voted Richard out permanently. You're listed as CEO pending company sale. Grace thinks you should take it. Claire stared at the messages. CEO of Thor Tech, her husband's company, the company he'd valued more than her life. She called Alicia. I don't want his company. It's not his anymore. The board removed him. Grace suggested you as interim CEO to stabilize things before sale. You have nonprofit management experience. You understand medical software. You're qualified. I have newborn twins in NICU. You have 6 months maternity leave and a board that will support you. Claire, think about it. Richard built ThorTech through manipulation and fraud. You could transform it, make it something ethical, something good, then sell it on your terms. Profits go into trust funds for Sophia and James. I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. Claire hung up, looked at her babies, imagined their future. College funds, security, opportunities. Richard had tried to murder her for money. Maybe there was justice in using his company to provide for the children he'd tried to kill. She left the NICU at midnight. Joanna drove her back to the apartment. Exhaustion pulled at every muscle. The incision ached. 24 hours since the custody hearing. 24 hours since Richard's arrest. It felt like years. But she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Richard's face in the courtroom. His shock. His rage. The moment he realized he'd lost everything. At 2 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her. Hello? You think you've won. Richard's voice. Cold. Controlled. You haven't. This isn't over. How are you calling me? You're in jail. I have resources you can't imagine. Lawyers. Connections. Money you don't know about. I'll get out. I'll fight this. And when I do, I'll destroy you. You tried to kill me. It's on camera. Witnesses saw everything. You're going to prison. Maybe, maybe not. But even if I do, it won't be forever. And when I get out, those children will be mine. You'll be nothing. Just like you were always nothing. The call ended. Claire's hands shook. She called Detective Webb immediately. Richard just called me from jail, threatened me. I'm on it. That's a violation of the protective order. He'll lose phone privileges. I'll have it documented. How did he even get my number? He probably had it memorized or someone gave it to him, but this works in our favor. Shows he's still dangerous, still threatening. The DA will use this. Claire hung up, looked at her phone. The number was blocked now. But the damage was done. Richard had sent his message. He wasn't surrendering. Joanna came out of the bedroom. I heard. Are you okay? No, but I will be. He's just trying to scare me. He knows he's lost. This is desperation. Does desperation make him less dangerous? No, but I'm not alone anymore. I have you, Alicia, Grace, Detective Webb. A whole army. He's just one man in a jail cell. One man with resources. Resources can't change video evidence, can't change medical records, can't change the truth. Claire wanted to believe that, needed to believe it, but she'd learned the hard way that truth didn't always win. Sometimes money won, sometimes power won, sometimes the system failed. But not this time. She wouldn't let it fail this time. The arraignment was the next day. Claire didn't attend. Alicia went as her representative, sent updates via text. Richard pled not guilty. Brooke pled not guilty. Both denied bail. Judge cited flight risk, access to resources, and ongoing threat to victim. They'll be in custody until trial. Relief flooded through Claire. They couldn't hurt her if they were in jail. Couldn't hurt the babies. Couldn't hurt anyone. Another text. Trial date set for 6 weeks from now. Fast-tracked because of the video evidence. DA wants to move quickly before public attention fades. 6 weeks. 42 days. A lifetime and no time at all. But Claire had work to do in those 6 weeks. Babies to bring home. A new life to build. A future to imagine. Grace came to the apartment that evening. She carried documents. The Thor Tech board officially voted you in as interim CEO. Unanimous decision. They want you to start immediately. Grace, I can't. The babies. Work from home. Video conferences. The company is in crisis management mode anyway. All you need to do is make strategic decisions and show steady leadership. The operational team handles everything else. Why do you want me to do this? Because Richard built that company on lies, manipulation, fraud. It deserves better, and you're capable of giving it better. Claire looked at the contract. CEO salary, benefits, stock options, a fortune by any standard. Money that could secure her children's futures. Money that represented Richard's worst nightmare. His wife taking over his company. I'll do it, but on one condition. You stay on as board chair. Guide me. Teach me. I don't know tech like Richard did. You don't need to know tech. You need to know people, ethics, leadership. You have all of that. Grace hugged her, brief, awkward, the hug of two women who'd bonded through crisis, not affection, but real nonetheless. Thank you, Claire said, for standing up for us, for testifying against your son. That couldn't have been easy. It was the easiest thing I've ever done. He tried to murder you. There's no gray area in that, no room for maternal loyalty. He's wrong, dangerously wrong, and I won't protect that. After Grace left, Claire sat at the small dining table, opened her laptop, logged into ThorTech's executive systems. Her name was already on everything. Claire Marshall, Chief Executive Officer. The company was in chaos. Stock down 30%, major contracts on hold, employees uncertain, press inquiries overwhelming the PR team. Claire started typing. An email to all staff, simple, direct, honest. I'm Claire Marshall, your new CEO. Many of you know me as Richard Thornton's wife. Others know me from recent news coverage. Here's what you need to know. ThorTech was built on innovation and strong medical software. That doesn't change. What changes is how we operate, with transparency, with ethics, with respect for all stakeholders. We're going to stabilize this company, restore confidence, and operate with integrity. Then we'll evaluate the best path forward. Thank you for your dedication during this difficult time. More information coming soon. She hit send. Watched the email go out to 800 employees. Her first official act as CEO. Her phone rang, unknown number. She didn't answer. It rang again and again. 5 times in 10 minutes. Finally, she answered. Hello? This is Channel 7 News. We'd like to interview you about the ThorTech CEO position. Can you comment? No comment. All media inquiries go through our PR team. She hung up. The phone rang continuously for the next hour. Different news outlets, podcasters, documentary filmmakers. Everyone wanted the story. The wife who survived attempted murder and took over her husband's company. It was irresistible content. Claire turned off her phone. Silence. Finally, she went to bed, slept fitfully, dreamed of courtrooms and oxygen masks and babies crying in the distance. At 6 a.m., she woke, got dressed, went to the hospital. The NICU was quiet, most babies sleeping. Sophia and James were awake, alert, looking around with that unfocused newborn gaze. Good morning, my loves, Claire whispered. Mama's here. She held them one at a time, fed them bottles, changed tiny diapers, learned the rhythm of their days. Sophia was feisty, demanding, particular about how she was held. James was easy, content, happy with whatever came. Joanna arrived with coffee and breakfast sandwiches. How are they? Perfect. Growing. The nurse said maybe 5 more days until discharge. And you, how are you? Tired, scared, angry, relieved, all of it. That's normal. You've been through trauma. You're allowed to feel everything. They sat in the NICU parent lounge, drank coffee, watched the sunrise through industrial windows, life continuing, babies being born, families starting over, hope persisting despite everything. Claire's phone buzzed. She'd turned it back on. Message from Alicia. Brooke accepted a plea deal, testifying against Richard, 4 years if she cooperates fully. Claire read the message 3 times. Brooke was flipping, turning on Richard, probably to save herself. But it didn't matter why. What mattered was the prosecution would have insider testimony, someone who could explain the planning, the coordination, the intent. Richard was going down, actually going down. Internal statement. This is what victory looks like. Not revenge. This, validation whisper. I am enough. I was always enough. He was never enough for me. Claire looked at her babies through the NICU window. They were sleeping now, peaceful, safe, oblivious to the legal machinations that would shape their childhoods. She'd protected them, kept them alive, won custody, secured their futures. She'd survived attempted murder, fought back, won. But Claire's transformation had one more chapter. 6 months passed. Claire marked time in baby milestones, first smiles, first giggles, first time sleeping more than 4 hours straight. The mundane miracles of infant life. The trial happened during those months. Claire didn't attend. Couldn't. Alicia handled everything, represented her interests, shielded her from the media circus. But she received updates, text messages, brief phone calls. The story of Richard's downfall told in fragments. Week 1, jury selection, 12 citizens, 8 women, 4 men, all promised to be impartial despite viral footage and public opinion. Week 2, prosecution's case. Detective Webb testified, Nurse Jennifer testified, Dr. Mitchell testified. The security footage played on courtroom screens, undeniable, damning. Week 3, Brooke Davies testified, detailed everything, how Richard approached her, desperate for money, how the affair started, how the plan formed. Kill Claire, collect insurance, save the company, marry Brooke. Her family's investment firm bails out Thortec. Everyone wins except the dead wife. Week 4, defense tried. Richard's lawyers brought character witnesses, claimed Brooke was lying for a reduced sentence, suggested the video was misinterpreted. The jury didn't buy it. Their faces showed disgust, horror, certainty. Week 5, closing arguments. The DA painted Richard as a calculating killer who valued money over life, over his wife, over his unborn children. Richard's attorney claimed he was a man who made mistakes but never intended murder. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, returned with verdicts: attempted murder, guilty, conspiracy to commit murder, guilty, insurance fraud, guilty, assault, guilty, reckless endangerment on, guilty. Sentencing 3 weeks later, 8 years in state prison, no possibility of parole for 6 years, permanent restraining order from Claire and the children, no contact, ever. Brooke's sentencing, 4 years, eligible for parole after 2. Her testimony had helped, but not enough to avoid prison entirely. Claire received the news via text. She was holding James at the time, feeding him a bottle. He looked up at her with those serious eyes, Richard's eyes, but softer, kinder, innocent. "Your father's going to prison," she told him, "for trying to hurt us. Justice happened. It doesn't happen." But this time it did. James finished his bottle, burped, smiled, 4 teeth coming in now, growing so fast. Sophia was in her bouncer, kicking her legs, energetic, always moving. She looked like Claire, but had Richard's determination. Claire hoped it would serve her better than it had served her father. The apartment near the hospital was temporary. Claire found a house, small, 3 bedrooms, quiet neighborhood near her mother, close to good schools for the future, far from the mansion she'd shared with Richard. She'd sold that house. Too many ghosts, too many memories of painting nurseries and planning futures that never existed. The money went into trust funds for the twins. The new house was hers, chosen by her, furnished by her. Photos on the walls of her children, her mother, Grace, Alicia, people who'd fought for her. No wedding photos, no pictures of Richard. He didn't exist in this house. Claire stood in the nursery, the real nursery, not a hospital room, not temporary. Home. 2 cribs, white, simple. The same mobile she'd bought 6 months ago. Moons and stars. She'd unpacked the last box that morning. Found her wedding dress buried at the bottom. White silk. Expensive. Beautiful. She'd loved it once. Now she looked at it and felt nothing. Not anger, not grief, just indifference. She donated it, dropped it at Goodwill on the way to the pediatrician's office. Let someone else wear it. Someone who believed in fairy tales. Claire knew better now. Thortec was thriving under her leadership. The company culture had shifted. Ethics board established. Transparency implemented. Female leadership promoted to executive positions. The employees responded. Morale improved. Productivity increased. Stock prices recovered. Claire negotiated a sale to an ethical buyer, another medical software company with a strong reputation. The deal closed last week, $200 million. After debts and legal fees, Claire's share was $60 million. $60 million, an absurd amount of money, enough for generations. She put most of it in trust funds for Sophia and James. Separate trusts, managed by a team Grace recommended. The children would be financially secure forever. They could become anything, do anything. Money would never limit their choices. Claire kept 5 million, enough to live comfortably, enough to restart her nonprofit work, enough to help other women in situations like hers. She was planning a foundation, domestic violence prevention, resources for victims, legal aid for those who couldn't afford representation. Her life had purpose now, direction, something beyond survival. Grace was a constant presence. True to her word, she'd become just Grace, not Richard's mother, just a grandmother who showed up, who helped, who loved those babies like they were her redemption. Maybe they were. Alicia visited twice a week, brought wine, Chinese takeout, laughter, friendship that had deepened through crisis. They didn't talk about Richard unless necessary, move forward instead of dwelling on the past. Joanna had moved to an apartment 10 minutes away, close enough to help with the twins, far enough to give Claire independence. The balance was perfect. Claire had her mother's support without losing her autonomy. Today was a rare free day. No doctor appointments, no meetings, no legal obligations. Just Claire and her 6-month-old twins. And the envelope that arrived in yesterday's mail. From Richard, prison mail, official stamp. Her name and address in his distinctive handwriting. Alicia brought it to the house. You don't have to read this. We can just shred it. He's violating the no contact order by sending it. I can report it. No, I want to read it. I need to see what he has to say. Are you sure? Yes. Alicia left. Claire sat at her kitchen table, opened the envelope, unfolded 3 pages of lined paper. Richard's handwriting. Neat, controlled. Even in prison, maintaining appearances. The letter was exactly what she expected. Apologies, explanations, justifications, appeals to their history, to the love they'd supposedly shared, to the father he wanted to be to their children. I never meant to hurt you. I lost my way. The company was everything. I couldn't see past saving it. I made terrible choices, but I loved you. I still love you. I hope someday you can forgive me. I hope our children will know their father. I hope. Hope. The letter was full of hope, Richard's hope, his desires, his wants, like he was still entitled to her consideration. Like attempted murder was a mistake that could be forgiven with enough time and pretty words. Claire read it once, then again, looking for something, she wasn't sure what. Remorse maybe, true understanding of what he'd done, acceptance of consequences. She didn't find it. The letter was narcissism dressed as apology. Richard was sorry he got caught, sorry his plan failed, sorry he lost everything, but not actually sorry for trying to kill her. She stood, walked to her home office, fed the letter into the shredder, watched it turn to confetti, Richard's words, his hopes, his manipulations, all destroyed in seconds. Alicia called. Any response? No, he doesn't get my energy anymore. Good, that's growth. Alicia, can I tell you something? Always. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. I finally understand that. I don't hate Richard anymore. I don't love him. I don't think about him except when forced to. He's just nothing. A chapter that ended, a mistake that taught me things, but nothing. That's healing, Claire. That's what recovery looks like. Validation whisper. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. I'm finally there. The afternoon was sunny, warm but not hot. Perfect park weather. Claire loaded Sophia and James into their double stroller, grabbed the diaper bag, headed to the neighborhood park. Joanna met them there. So did Grace. Alicia came straight from court. Her power suit looked comically out of place near the playground. But she kicked off her heels, sat on the grass, helped spread out the blanket. 4 women, 2 babies, a perfect afternoon. Sophia sat up now, 6 months old, reaching for everything, putting everything in her mouth, curious about the world. Fearless, James was content to observe. Quieter, more cautious. He watched his sister's adventures with serious eyes, protective already, big brother by 3 minutes, taking the responsibility seriously. A woman approached, mid-30s, hesitant. Excuse me? Are you Claire Marshall from the news? Claire tensed. Public recognition still felt dangerous. Exposing. Yes, that's me. I just wanted to say thank you. The woman's eyes filled with tears. I was in a similar situation, bad marriage, feeling trapped. I saw your story, watched the trial coverage. It gave me courage to leave. I left my husband 3 months ago. My daughter and I are safe now. I have a restraining order. I'm rebuilding because of you. Because you showed me it was possible. She handed Claire a note, walked away before Claire could respond. Claire unfolded the note. Simple, direct, handwritten. You saved my life. I was ready to give up. You showed me survival was possible. Thank you. You're my hero. Michelle. Tears came, not sad tears, grateful tears, humbled tears, the recognition that suffering could have purpose, that surviving could inspire others to survive. Are you okay? Grace asked. Better than okay. Claire looked at her family, her chosen family, the women who'd stood beside her, the grandmother who'd betrayed her son to protect them, the best friend who'd fought every legal battle, the mother who'd never doubted, never judged, never left, and the babies, her babies, 6 months old, growing, thriving, completely unaware that their existence had sparked a war, changed lives, inspired strangers. Sophia reached for a blade of grass, examined it seriously, put it in her mouth, made a disgusted face, spit it out. Everyone laughed. James watched a bird, followed its flight with his eyes, wonder on his little face. The world was magic to him, new, safe, full of possibilities. Claire's internal monologue. Richard tried to erase me. Instead, he revealed me. I thought I was fighting for survival. I was fighting for transformation. The woman who couldn't breathe in that hospital room, she died. I'm someone new, someone stronger, someone who knows her worth. I'm not the woman he married, thank God for that. Layer 7 complete, transformed power. Not revenge fantasy, but genuine healing. Not bitterness, but wisdom. Not victim, but victor. The sun moved across the sky. Afternoon turned to evening, time to go home. Time for dinner, baths, bedtime stories, the routine of normal life. The kind of life Claire had almost lost. She packed up the stroller, said goodbye to her family, promised to call later. At home, she fed the babies, bathed them, dressed them in soft pajamas, read them stories they couldn't understand but loved anyway. The rhythm of her voice, the comfort of routine. When they slept, she stood in their nursery doorway, watched them breathe, in and out, alive, safe, hers. Let's go home, she whispered to them. Though they were already home, would always be home now because home wasn't a place, it was safety, love, protection, survival, and they had all of that, finally, permanently, completely. Claire closed the nursery door softly, walked to her own bedroom, looked at herself in the mirror, saw the woman she'd become, stronger, wiser, charred but not broken. She was 33 years old, a single mother, a CISO, a survivor, an inspiration to strangers, a friend, a daughter, a fighter who'd won the most important battle of her life. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, legal paperwork to finalize a divorce, Thor Tech transition meetings, foundation planning, pediatrician appointments, the endless logistics of single motherhood. But tonight she could rest, actually rest, because the danger had passed, justice had been served, her children were safe. In the nursery, Sophia sighed in her sleep, a tiny sound, content, secure. James shifted, found his thumb, sucked it gently, self-soothing, growing independent already. 2 babies sleeping, 2 heartbeats, 2 miracles. Claire had survived attempted murder, won custody, rebuilt her life, transformed trauma into purpose. She wasn't the same woman who'd married Richard Thornton 5 years ago. That woman was naive, trusting, willing to overlook red flags in service of believing in love. The woman she was now knew better, knew that love didn't try to kill you, knew that partnership didn't include life insurance plots, knew that some people were too broken to fix, too dangerous to trust, too toxic to forgive. But she also knew she was stronger than she'd ever imagined, braver, more capable, more resilient. Richard had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd forged her into someone unbreakable. That was his final gift, unintentional, unwanted, but transformative nonetheless. Claire turned off the lights, went to bed, slept deeply for the first time in 7 months. Dreamless, peaceful, safe. Outside, the world continued. Babies were born, marriages ended, justice happened or didn't happen. Life moved forward. But in one small house in a quiet neighborhood, a mother and her twins slept safely, protected, loved, survivors. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Claire's story didn't end in that ICU room. It ended with justice, with transformation, with two beautiful children sleeping safely. But here's the truth. There are thousands of women right now in situations like Claire's, trapped, scared, thinking they're alone. If this story resonated with you, if you see yourself or someone you know in Claire's struggle, share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear that survival is possible, that fighting back works, that justice can happen. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories about real people facing impossible situations and finding their strength, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, because every week we bring you true stories of survival, courage, and transformation. Drop a comment below. Tell us what you thought. Tell us what Claire's moment of strength meant to you. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Remember, you're stronger than you think. You're not alone, and your story matters. Until next time, stay strong.